I remember the exact second everything snapped. You ever have one of those moments where time slows down and your body just reacts? That was me standing in the middle of my own driveway, watching my pregnant wife gasp for air while the neighborhood's self-appointed queen of the HOA twisted off the oxygen tank she needed to survive. Yeah, that happened. And no, I'm not exaggerating. A woman nearly died. My son almost never took his first breath. And it all started over a stupid parking space. Let me back up a sec. My wife Emily was 9 months pregnant. High-risk pregnancy doctor's orders said she needed supplemental oxygen just to stay stable. Her lungs weren't handling the strain. Every step, every contraction, every breath was a battle. So we had this little medical-grade oxygen tank, portable, clean, barely the size of a gym bag. Most of the neighbors were kind. Really, they were. Held doors asked if we needed help, smiled when we passed. But then there was Eileen Carver, or as the whole block not so lovingly whispered, the HOA Karen. She had this knack, a talent for turning nothing into a problem. Fined a kid once for leaving a skateboard leaning against a porch post. Threatened to tow an elderly veteran's truck because the paint wasn't shiny enough. She lived for rules, citations, and making sure everyone respected the standards of the community. I should have seen the warning signs when she started snapping pictures of our oxygen equipment. Said it was an eyesore. But I never thought she'd go this far. It was a Saturday morning. Emily had been having contractions since around midnight, and by 8 a.m. they were sharper, closer. Her doctor told us to keep her calm, keep the oxygen flowing. So we set her up on the couch tank beside her, and I went out to load the hospital bags into the car. I was gone maybe, 5 minutes. Eileen showed up like a vulture, phone out, snapping pictures of my bumper. "You can't park there," she snapped. I blinked. "It's my driveway." "Your back tire is touching the sidewalk line. That's a violation of Code 4B section." I didn't have time. I told her I had a medical emergency inside and brushed past her. Emily was calling my name, voice strained. I grabbed the rest of the bags, ran back in, and then we heard it. That hiss, followed by a click, and then Emily gasped. I turned. Her face had gone pale. Her lips were trembling. No sound, just her hand on her chest, her mouth working like she was underwater. The tank was silent. The regulator was dead. I ran. Outside, there she was. Eileen. Kneeling beside the tank, her fingers still on the valve like she was turning off a garden hose after watering her petunias. She looked up at me like I was the one interrupting her gardening. "What are you doing?" I shouted. She stood up casually, brushed her blouse. "This equipment violates HOA aesthetics. I warned you." My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Just the memory of Emily's choking breath. I lunged for the tank's zero pressure. She hadn't just turned it off, she drained it. "You drained it," I whispered. She smirked. "Maybe next time you'll follow the rules." "Honestly, your wife is being dramatic." Dramatic. That wasn't anger. I felt it was something deeper. Like every nerve in my body had just flipped to protect mode. I bolted inside, grabbed the backup tank from the closet, shaking like I was in a blizzard, connected the regulator, flipped the valve, blessed hiss of air. Emily's breathing steadied, but her contractions were ramping up. She whispered one word: hospital. We headed for the car, and guess who was waiting? Eileen, standing like a sentry, arms crossed. "You're not leaving until we discuss your violation notice." I picked up Emily and moved toward the passenger door. Eileen stepped in front. "You push me again and I'll report you for assault." I didn't push her, didn't say a word, just stared. Whatever she saw in my eyes, it was enough. She backed off. I got Emily and slammed the door, peeled out of that driveway like my life depended on it. Because it did. At the hospital, the nurse barely had to ask what happened. I told her everything. And suddenly we weren't just patients anymore, we were part of an incident report. A case file. Security showed up. A physician. Someone from social services. The calm, sharp-eyed doctor pulled me aside. If her oxygen had been cut off for much longer, she said, you could have lost them both. Those words stuck in my throat like broken glass. The officer showed up a bit later, clipboard in hand, disbelief on his face. Asked me to walk him through everything. Where the tank was, who had touched it, whether there was history. When I told him, he shook his head. This isn't a civil matter, he said. Cutting off medically necessary oxygen, that's assault. Possibly worse. Meanwhile, Emily. God, she was fighting. Each contraction hit like a wave, but she gritted through it. Between them, she squeezed my hand and said, "Don't let her get away with it." I nodded. I meant it. Hours passed. And then he was here. Our son, red-faced, loud, furious, alive. That cry nearly dropped me to my knees. Later that night, while Emily slept, the officer came back. "Neighbors backed you up," he said. "Some saw her taking photos. One said she called your setup a circus prop." Then he dropped the bomb. "She denied touching the tank until we mentioned fingerprints on the valve. Then she went silent. We've got a warrant. Depending on what we find, this could become a criminal case, real charges." And it did. Because the next morning, Eileen went scorched earth, blasted through neighborhood chats, claiming we staged it all, said Emily faked the oxygen used to avoid HOA fines, that we weaponized sympathy. Her words. Screenshots started rolling in. Neighbors sent paragraphs of wild accusations. A local reporter even called. It would have been laughable if we weren't recovering from almost losing everything. Then 2 detectives arrived. Detective Ramirez didn't mince words. "Her prints are on the valve," he said, "and she admitted she shut it off because she thought you were faking it, but draining it that shows intent. It's not just interference, it's destruction." Emily whispered, "She could have killed our baby." Ramirez nodded. "Exactly. The DA is reviewing charges. Attempted manslaughter, maybe attempted murder." When we were discharged, we drove home. Expected quiet. Got whispers, photos, neighbors staring, and there, arms crossed, eyes blazing, stood Eileen. "You're destroying this community," she screamed. I didn't answer. I drove past. But she wasn't done. As we pulled into the driveway, a cruiser rolled up. Officer got out. "The DA filed charges," he said. "You'll want to hear this in court." Court. I've never seen a courthouse look so cold. Every footstep echoed like a gavel. Emily sat beside me, our son wrapped in that blue blanket. She looked tired but proud, like a woman who'd survived a war. Eileen walked in, no clipboard this time, just fury. She didn't look afraid, not yet. The prosecutor laid it all out. Timeline, medical necessity, witnesses, fingerprints, the tank. But the moment that sealed it, the doctor's testimony. She described exactly what happens when a woman in late-term pregnancy loses oxygen. No drama, no exaggeration, just facts. It could have resulted in the death of both mother and child. The room went silent. Then Eileen spoke, rambling about community standards, visual harmony, and our so-called manipulation. Called the oxygen tank decorative medical theater. No remorse. The judge leaned forward, slow, deliberate. "Mrs. Carver," he said, "your actions were not those of a concerned citizen. They were those of someone who willfully interfered with life-sustaining medical equipment. What you did meets the legal threshold for attempted murder." Gasps, audible. Eileen's face went white. The judge ordered her taken into custody pending sentencing. The bailiff stepped forward. For the first time, she looked afraid. They led her away, and just like that, her power, her authority, her clipboard, it all vanished. Emily leaned into me, whispered, "It's over." And for the first time, it really was. You know, I used to think the biggest danger in life came from chaos, from things falling apart. But now I see sometimes the danger wears perfume and carries a clipboard. Sometimes it hides behind rules. The lesson power without empathy is poison. And community, real community, doesn't look like fear and fines. It looks like holding a door, offering help, letting someone breathe. So yeah, karma showed up in court that day. But what do you think? Was justice really served, or was it too little too late? Let me know in the comments. What would you have done? And if you've ever had your own HOA horror story, I'm listening.